Based on everything y'all have been saying, I think this is going to be a one-sided battle, and by one-sided I mean it's like if I could put in that little screen from Mario Party, 1 versus 3.
1 versus 3.
Yeah, like
I'm worried Char's gonna put it high because he's saying it's like Goldfinger but fixes stuff.
well, okay.
And we have Goldfinger at the top still.
I will always say that Goldfinger has shortcomings, but I don't think it ruined. I mean, there's a reason why Goldfinger's at the top. It's still fucking Goldfinger, even though everything that makes Goldfinger less than perfect, this fixes it. But that doesn't mean it's at the top of the list. But I think I am going to put it higher than you guys because I do, as I said, as John Glenn goes along, he's slowly shedding the movies of the stupid shit, and he's making it a little classier. And I can, again, in the prologue, I can look the other way with the Beach Boys, and I can just enjoy it for what it is. And the car breaking in half, I can look the other way and enjoy it as it is. I don't think
stupid.
but
those are big things in the movie. They're part of the movie.
They stick
those
out.
Way into the movie.
Sure, they weigh in.
Into the movie.
But that's why I'm not going to say it's number 1. But
yeah, but I'm not going to say it's number 2 or 3 or 4.
Okay, I like what you just said. No, I like what you just said. You said I'm not going to put it at 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. But that's why I'm putting it at number 5.
Yeah, it's not a 5.
Okay, why? Tell me why this movie is not as good as Dr. No.
5's it's not as classy and it has stupid, silly moments that really ruin the movie.
I think this movie is better than Dr. No. I really do. I think this. I think.
Let's ask the Peanut Gallery, Naz and.
But before we do,
no.
As we've talked about, like
you put it.
Every time we always say the same thing about Dr. No, which is like, well, with a small budget, they made a really classy story, and yeah, they did the same old tired argument. But we have transcended that at this point.
Yeah, and then I compare it to For Your Eyes Only and On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and I'm like, I don't really see it.
I think it beats the two of those. I think For Your Eyes Only is still weighed down by the same old goofy.
Where are you putting it? You haven't said. Where are you putting it?
You haven't said yet, so why don't you say first?
No, you say first, motherfucker.
You cannot say it's worse than Octopussy,
Gallery.
There's no way it's worse than
the Peanut Gallery.
I don't think it's worse than
Make a goddamn statement, bitch.
Don't, Scott, shut up.
Make a statement.
I don't think it's worse.
If you're going to call us the Peanut Gallery, make a statement.
I don't think it's worse than Octopussy. I think it's better than On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I'd put it at under For Your Eyes Only.
Okay, but why? How is it worse than For Your Eyes Only?
I think For Your Eyes Only has a much more interesting villain plot than this movie does.
You guys said in that episode, though, that what's his name? The Dove had that he was a lackluster bad guy. Whereas, again, we're comparing this guy to Goldfinger.
It's the plot with the two villains where you have. I mean, you didn't get no heroin. No heroin. Okay, so let me point out my general dislikes of this movie. I think the overly silly, stupid set pieces that are in this movie. I pointed out the sub I'll give a pass. Beach Boys needle drop. The Paris half car chase scene, which is kind of like, why did it need to be half? Could have had that car chase scene without that, and I still think it would have worked really well.
So great.
The fire truck chase in San Francisco feels like something out of a comedy, like Cannonball Run or Blues Brothers, with the police cars conjoining and then the silly fire truck antics, and then it crosses the bridge, and all the police cars crash into it. You could put Benny Hill music under it. The Salt Rock scene is just kind of a silly scene just to have it in there. I mean, yeah, it talks about Tanya's character being in over her head, but like at the same time, it's like
they weren't there to kill her.
The guys had guns and they know James Bond's there.
They weren't there to kill her.
Max Zorn already knows who James Bond is at this point, so it just seems very.
But he thought he was dead.
Silly thing.
He thought he was dead.
Tanya Roberts' performance is okay. It's not the best. And then again, I wish Zorn's motives worked better with the film. And then we haven't even really mentioned this, but Moore does okay. But again, it's like you look at him and you're like, you hang up the cape, dude. You hang up the cape. So that's kind of where I'm at with this movie.
You ageist son of a bitch. You were sexist and now you're ageist too.
So, Charlie, you're putting this above Dr. No.
Yeah.
At 5.
McCurdy, you're putting this below For Your Eyes Only between
7.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Let me respond here. Basically, for me, I get all the same old arguments with Dr. No. Oh, they had $1 million and they made something that was great. Yeah, I love Dr. No. But at a certain point, it gets surpassed, right? It gets surpassed just almost like almost by default, just because this movie is ultra competent. Again, and this is coming on the heels of Octopussy, which is near impossible to follow. This movie's very easy to follow, and while it may be a Goldfinger ripoff, it's a ripoff in a fantastic way. I mean, nobody would really ever put together that information without really being told. Nobody would really pick up on that in the same way. But it all comes down to Max Zorin himself. He's a highly competent bad guy. Again, who doesn't just hire 1 million assassins to kill Bond. He legitimately does kill Bond, or at least he thinks so. But as I said before, he's a psychopath who just does whatever he wants. He's even defying the KGB. He's power hungry. He's not. It transcends a desire for money, and it just becomes this desire to literally take over the whole world because he's just like, he's a bastard. He's just like a psychopathic bastard who was just created in a test tube, essentially. His dad is like a Nazi doctor. And do you guys not feel for Mortner for like a second where he's like, Max, and like Max is like ready to die, and he's like, no, my Nazi creation, like, you know, in the same way that I felt bad for the knife twins, you know, Mishka, you know, but beyond that though, it is a very competent film with very little to no offensive, stupid, or goofy shit. Yeah, the Beach Boys. Yeah, I mean, and that's all I'll give you. The car ripping in half is enjoyable. The Beach Boys is like, okay, we're back to our slide whistle stuff, but it's in the prologue and it's during like our millionth ski scene. Like I enjoy it. Like I like, bottom line is the slide whistle I don't enjoy. The Beach Boys I enjoy. It even has a little California Girls thing, and the movie takes place in California. Whatever. I'm not trying to give it a pass for that reason, but it's like it has
on the slide whistle. Shut
the slide whistle though, and double take pigeon say something though, which is like, why did you do that? Why just for like
would you
an
not
audience reaction?
Put this above the man with the golden gun?
So with all that in mind, the overall bad guy plot is great and makes sense, and you can easily follow it. And the whole time it's Bond trying to figure out what he's trying to do.
Silicon Valley, and everything in it submerged forever.
If it happened at the peak of the spring tide for maximum effect.
Well, that's today at 9:41, in less than an hour.
He's like, holy shit, we have an hour to stop this. Like, the whole movie is Bond investigating what is main strike, just like Grand Slam. What is main strike? He figures it out last minute as he's trying to stop it. And then you inject Mayday, who gets betrayed, and she has her great little redemption moment there.
That's Zorin for me!
The movie is so much more competent than pretty much every other Roger Moore movie, and has like a couple of things that triggers are like, it's goofy, you know, but those things are not poison pills that ruin it. At the end of the day, you still have this great bad guy whose motivation is just psychopathic world domination, and he's not a normal person. He has this really interesting backstory that legitimizes his being a psychopath. Octopussy dragged on past its climax, whereas this has its climax of Mayday blowing up the bomb, and then right away we have our Golden Gate showdown, and it doesn't take 20 minutes. It's just Max goes out and fights them, and it was set up that Max is a bit of a fighter, but Bond bests him quickly, and then he faces down Mortner, and then it ends. It's not like Live and Let Die, where the bad guy's death is a giant fart balloon. The offensive, goofy stuff is so early on that it's not a poison pill. So for me, it rises above Dr. No's perfect simplicity.
So you would put Scaramanga above Zorin?
I would.
Okay.
Do you want to put it higher?
I don't know. I heard a lot of very similar points in your argument there for both.
I have such a Scaramanga man with the golden gun boner, but I think if you two would kill,
that would be your one.
Only
point,
one
right?
is missing a third nipple. That's
Yeah.
Chars, Man of the
But I
Golden
see
Gun,
very similar
number one for you
qualities
so
between
far?
both.
From Russia with Love is at our list as it is now, in my personal list. From Russia with Love is like my golden child. I
Okay.
want to fuck that movie. I have.
All right.
Back when it was a VHS
Naz.
tape. When it became a DVD, it was a little
All
bit
right.
harder, and then with streaming, you just can't. You just can't anymore with streaming. At least back in the day, you had the cardboard sleeve from the VHS, so you could just crumple it up and put your dick in
stick a
that.
Chromecast up your butt or like